So today we are making Spanish churros. Now churros is a type of choux pastry which has been fried. So it's kind of like a donut, however it's a lot more crunchy with a fluffy and slightly chewy interior. Now this type of pastry is also very popular in Mexico and you often see it tossed in cinnamon sugar. And it's often served with hot chocolate or sometimes dulce de leche. So essentially we are making a choux pastry. It's a little bit different to how we make our choux pastry for our eclairs and choux buns, but I'm gonna go through that now. So we wanna make this dough a little bit richer because we aren't filling it with a cream. So we really want the richness of the dough to come through. So in a saucepan here, we're going to be adding some water, our salt measurement, we have some sugar and some vanilla. So you can use a vanilla extract or vanilla powder. I'm just using the powdered variety today. And we're using margarine because I want it to be a little bit richer. Now, if you want this to have a buttery flavor, you can at this stage add some butter aroma. So I'm just putting a few drops of that in there. And if you can't find butter aroma, I have linked in your course dashboard in the unique ingredients list, some locations where you can find it. Essentially, it's like a vanilla essence, but it's the essence of butter, but without butter. All right, so we're gonna get this onto a low to medium heat. And at this stage, we just want to melt that margarine. In my bowl here, I have some all-purpose flour, and you just want to make sure that you sift that into your bowl. As soon as it starts boiling rapidly, we're going to pour it directly into our flour. And stir that until everything comes together. Now, whilst we are gelatinizing our starches for this choux pastry type, we're not going to heat it up further. So we're just going to leave it at this stage. Just give it a good mix just to ensure that everything is well incorporated and we get that flour nicely hydrated. You'll notice that the dough will start to appear smoother, and that's what we're looking for. After mixing it for about a minute or two until it's nice and smooth, I'm just going to put a little bit of cling wrap over the top, and we're going to set that aside to cool for about 5 minutes or so. We want it to be between 40 and 50 degrees Celsius essentially, because we don't want to cook our vegan egg. So just set that aside. We can start preparing our hot chocolate, or in our case, we're doing something a little bit more luxury. We're making a classic ganache. So essentially it's just cream, chocolate, and we're adding a little bit of glucose syrup. So I like to do this very easily. I just like to put everything together in a heat-proof jug and pop this in the microwave. And you just want to melt this. I like to do 30 seconds at a time and then just stir it in between until everything is melted. When the chocolate is almost melted, we can blend everything together with our immersion blender. All right, so let's get this into the microwave. If you would like to be a little bit extra with your ganache, you can spike it with a bit of liqueur. I have some Cointreau here, and I think the orange flavor, that citrus flavor, goes very nicely with our churros. So we can add a little bit of that. And while we're finishing our churros, I'm just going to put some cling wrap to contact on my ganache. You can prepare this ahead of time as well and just put it in the fridge. And then when you're ready, you can just melt it in the microwave. All right, so we'll set that aside. Now let's check the temperature on our choux pastry. We want to make sure that it is below 50 degrees Celsius. Yep, that looks fine. It's like 35 degrees, so that's totally fine. So we can start adding our vegan egg, and I've already prepared my paniseg vegan egg, and we love using paniseg because it has all the functions that eggs have, so it's perfect for using in choux pastry that really relies on our egg for the structure and leavening properties. So I'm going to just add a little bit at a time to our dough and give it a good mix in between each addition. And yeah, I'm doing all of this by hand. You can do this in a mixer as well. Now we want to transfer our batter into a piping bag, and I am using a 13mm French fluted tip. So that's the one that's got lots of little teeth on there. So while our oil is heating up, we can prepare some baking paper, and I've just folded a sheet over, and we can use this to pipe our pastry onto. And you can make it to any size that you like. Okay, so we're looking for our oil to be at 175 degrees. And over here on my tray, I have some white sugar. If you can get the finer grain white sugar, that's much better, the caster sugar. And I've just put a little bit of cinnamon in there. And that's optional, you don't have to put the cinnamon. Okay, so while we're waiting, it's about 150 right now. I'm going to pipe out some of my dough. And I like to just take a small amount of the dough and just put it on my bench just to help stick down my paper. And I like to make these like kind of thin-ish, I suppose. I don't want to make them too thick. And by piping on the baking paper, it makes it much easier to transfer it into the hot oil. All right, we're at 175 right now. Now let's do one just to test. And we just want to carefully pop that in. And then we can just remove the paper. So we're going to just test this one first and see how we go. If you're finding that they're exploding, you may need to rest the dough just for a little bit longer. And we can see on the inside it's nice and fluffy, and will be a little bit chewy as well. So that looks perfect to me. We're going to continue on with the rest. So I'm also using some classic caramel sauce to pair with my churros. So you can put that in a little dipping bowl. And of course, our classic chocolate ganache. And I must admit, I've already eaten a couple of these. So there we go, guys. That's our churros with classic chocolate ganache and caramel sauce.